what's going on, all my freaks and geeks out there? We are the Square Round Table. I want to start off this video, first of all, by just telling all our listeners and all our viewers on YouTube, thank you so much for listening to us on YouTube every week. And thank you so much for tuning in to Power 214 every Friday. We really appreciate all the love, guys. It's amazing. We just appreciate everything. All of us here at the Square Round Table appreciate y'all. And once again, I am your host, Chad Singleton. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys.
Steve?
I'm Josh.
All right. And as you can see, we got my boy Marcus here with us today.
Hey.
Special guest Marcus. How you doing, bro?
What's up, man? I'm glad to be back again. You know, an honor as always.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
Of course, you know it's all love here, man. It's all love. We're glad to have you back, bro. You're more than welcome to come back whenever.
Thank
You know.
Thank
All right, and today I'm going to pose a question to you guys. So, what makes a good comic book adaptation in movies and in television shows?
Well, I would think what makes a good adaptation is not straying too far away from the subject material, but also not being so, not copying it so much. Like, I actually like the idea of having original ideas. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about that, Dmitri?
I mean, I agree with Josh's point. Like staying to the source material as much as you can. I mean, you have liberties. Certain things you can't make. CGI wise that you can't bring from the comics. A lot of like scarecrows, like fear induced hallucinations. You can't do that on a big screen. That's like animated stuff. So I understood like when they did that for the first Batman, or sorry, the Nolan Batman.
Yeah.
They cut out a lot of his stuff because they couldn't really CGI that or animate that or make it realistic enough.
Right.
But I think in the sense of like the Joker, I mean, if the one that came out in 2019, it's okay to stray away from it if you let your fans know, hey, this isn't going to be directly from the comic books. It's a standalone, our own take. You just kind of separate. You got your fans know prior to going into it that it's not to be taken as part of the mythos or the part of the story of like Batman and his villain Joker. And I think people will be okay with it for the most part. There's still going to be people that are not going to like it, but
true.
At least you told your fans or the people that are fans of the comic books.
And that's a good point you made, Demetrius. And yeah, Marcus, so specifically, like, man, so what makes a good adaptation in a way? Like, how do you think it's about straying away from the source material, and how important do you think it is to stick to the source material when it comes to making a movie about a comic book?
Well, it's important to stick to the source material because of the fact of like what you're getting, like when you have these fans that you're supposed to be making the movies for, but at the same time you're still a filmmaker and you're trying to make a film. So you have to think about the aesthetics of like the film and how you're gonna do this and how we're gonna build these sets and how we're gonna make this CGI work. And at the same time, how we're gonna appeal to the comic book fans that are already anticipating what they have in their mind because of these comic books they grew up reading. And that's the hard part about it, because a lot of the people going to watch these movies is not just somebody who's just coming into it, oh, I seen this movie, so let me just go see it. It's people who've grown up reading the books, playing the games, buying the
like
action.
Us.
Yeah, like us.
Right.
It's a lot, and that's why a lot of times these directors have a hard time with kind of doing these films because it's a lot of pressure to stick to the source material, and it's hard because you got to think about it. They trying to take something out of a book that's, even though it's fiction, even in the comic books, it's set in like a real world environment, but they have to actually take that and put it onto a screen and make it seem real, but at the same time, give you that comic book feel to it. So like it's reality and not reality. Like Christopher Nolan is probably the best example sticking to the source material, but going completely away from it at the same time. I think that's one of like the best examples as far as like comic book movies, because every like film person loves to just say, well, even though this is Batman, it's not really a comic book movie, but that is pretty much a comic book movie. You
No,
still
it's
got
true.
dudes riding
Mm-hmm.
with
Yeah.
masks on and a guy painting his face, and so that's just my take on it. When it comes to sticking to the source material or going away. So it's a you got to just balance it out, really.
That's another good point too. I kind of wanted to get you guys' opinion because both you and Demetrius made a good point when you mentioned the Joker film, and I really like that because we all know, we're all comic book nerds. We know Joker, except for in the Tim Burton and then the standalone movie, he didn't really have a identity, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of this
Mm-hmm.
force of nature that comes out of nowhere. But I feel like, especially in the Joaquin Phoenix movie, they made a good choice by humanizing him, and honestly, even making his environment even more grounded than Nolan's universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they really did. Like
Yeah.
he was like a dude that lived down the street from you, and you always be like, something's off with that dude, and then he
Right.
snap, like, okay, so I was right.
Yeah. And they kind of made it
Exactly.
to where like he's like a like you said, he's just like that weird guy around town that takes up odd jobs to kind of
Mm-hmm.
like basically like odd jobs based on stuff that he kind of wants to do. Like he wants to be a comedian or some kind of like guy that jokes around, so he becomes like a sign flipper and stuff, and he puts on a cheap costume.
Right, exactly. Stuff like that is like, I love how they made him sort of the downtrodden type character. And he's not like this maniacal, mastermind that even the Nolan films makes Joker out to be. But another area I wanted to take it in, because I really feel like it's it's really disappointing and kind of heartbreaking a little bit, because I wanted to get y'all's opinion on the Watchmen and how that TV series really took that show and just brought it really more so in reality, because it takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and really brings a lot of inspiration and a lot of angst from the Tulsa massacre and all that kind of stuff, and it really shows how that event birthed Hooded Justice, and they made like characters like Hooded Justice a black man, and they turned around and made Dr. Manhattan a black man, but in a way that it works for the story. You know what I'm
And
saying?
it wasn't like, let's just make him black, just because.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They
And
kind of gave him purpose.
I just want to go on the record to say I was telling everybody about how good that show was.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted, not y'all, but nobody wanted to listen to me when I was talking about it. They thought I was crazy.
Yeah, that's a great show, man. Like, and it's like and so it only got one season, and now it's like canceled. And I'm like, dude, if you sat and watched that whole thing, like, it's such a great show. Like,
It is.
even even how they made Dr. Manhattan like African American. The only reason they did that is because, like, Dr. Manhattan can kind of take any form he wants to, and
Yeah.
he took the form of a black man because he fell in love with a black woman, and he wanted to he pretty much wanted to find some kind of commonality between both of them. And at a certain point in the show, they show Dr. Manhattan kind of on a first date, and you can see that he transforms into something that he thinks that she wants, and they actually form a relationship and get married. And it's just really cool.
Yeah,
Like
it is. And spoiler alert, by the way, if anybody hasn't seen that show.
right, my bad, I got a little
Right.
excited.
Hey, he
Right.
was like, I'm gonna
I
spoil
haven't
the
seen it at
whole
all.
first season. I'm gonna tell y'all what happens right now. Like, y'all ain't getting no spoiler one until after I say my point.
But yeah,
My bad.
that's a great example too, because with the movie, a lot of people felt let down with it because who was it? Snyder? Zack Snyder did that one, didn't he? I think the Watchmen.
Demetrius, can you look that up? Did Zack Snyder do the Watchmen movie?
But either way, a lot of people were like, "Well, he changed some stuff, but it's he made it too dark or whatever." They were like, it wasn't exactly to the source material, but it's hard to try to take a graphic novel and do a
Yeah.
page, and he tried to do that, and like you see some of it, but at the same time, he like, well, let me just change this a little bit or tweak this a little bit. And then with the show took a whole different route and just said, let's just take our show and set it in the world after the graphic novel instead of the film. And it worked because, it's a whole different feel of the show than it is that movie. Like it seems like it's two totally different worlds, and
It
they supposed to
does.
be the same kind of materials. So that's another thing about source material, pleasing the fans, retcon and stuff like that. It's a lot of that when it comes to like comic book movies or superhero movies in a whole. So that's the kind of trial and tribulations you get with these kind of films.
No, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any more opinions on that, Joshua or Demetrius? Anything y'all want to add to it?
Well, I would say it's kind of hard to adapt a movie into a film when there's so many years of
Source material.
source material, right? There's so many years of source material. Like with Batman and Superman, um, there's like 60, 70 years worth of material, and it can get difficult to kind of simmer that down into an hour or a couple hours.
No, it really can. What are you about to say, Demetrius?
I mean, I agree. Like, there's a lot of source material for like, Batman, Superman, even Spider-Man for that matter. But
Right.
like, I guess like kind of like gives you kind of like a lot of material to use. So like you can kind of like form something out of that. Like, and go, oh, I want this Batman, but we're gonna do it in this story set, and you can take the source material and kind of like weave it into that. So it kind of gives you a lot more leeway to like uh, to make your own movie out of it. Like you have so much to pull from. So it's a balance really, like of source material to like originality. But I think that having a lot more to work with is a good thing. I think it can be a good thing, depending on who gets their hands on it.
Exactly, and I love the fact that you
Very
said that. Oh, go ahead, Demetrius. Go ahead, Marcus.
No, I was just saying that's a very important, point that he made about who gets their hands on it. That's like
Yeah.
major part. As
No,
no director, all of that.
it is, and like I said, I'm glad y'all made those points because that's kind of what I want to go into next. I want to kind of break down the anatomy of a franchise because we've talked a lot so far about and honestly, just to make a little side point about that, I really hate that I love Batman, but I hate that they weigh on him so much in the DC universe like nobody else exists.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
Everything is Batman, Batman. Like the whole thing with like bringing Michael Keaton. They talking about bringing Michael Keaton back. Maybe it's a Batman Beyond film, and it's like they just really like act like none of these other characters exist. Like do like Marvel. Like Marvel took a chance on so many of their characters that's like not popular, like Ant-Man,
yes,
Doctor Strange. Like I never thought in the
Mm-hmm.
I would actually like and love a Doctor Strange movie because I never was into him. Like DC could
right.
do that same thing with like Doctor Fate, bro. Like come on, like
Yeah, Doctor Fate would be awesome.
Fate,
Doctor Fate will be amazing.
Yeah.
exactly.
Uh,
But being as though we don't have too much to pull from DC, I kind of want to do an anatomy of a franchise of three different filmmakers' versions of Batman movies. So we have Tim Burton's Batman, we have Christopher Nolan's Batman, and then we have the not so popular Zack Snyder Batman. But what I want to do is I kind of want to see or get you guys' like points on like what do you like about each of the iterations of Batman, what don't you like, just your thoughts on really any of the three main like Batman universes that these directors have made.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Do your thing, dude. I'm thinking.
For me, I'm a little biased because with the Keaton Batman, like the Tim Burton version, that's what kind of got me into like comic books and like the whole superhero thing, because that was like the first like ever superhero movie I ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But Christopher Nolan kind of grounded Batman, which I never thought you could kind of do, especially with the way he did his villains. And that's what always intrigued me with him, is that he took the villains and actually made them like tactical, or they actually had a plan, or they just wasn't crazy and was just saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna kill 100 people today just because I feel like it." Like it was like these people actually sat down and thought about this. Then with the Snyder Batman, Ben Affleck, I didn't 100% hate his Batman.
Okay.
I think with that Batman,
Mm-hmm.
it was a studio thing where the studio was telling the director what they wanted, and they were pushing it so hard that even if he tried to put, even if him or Ben Affleck were trying to give their version of Batman, it was a lot of pressure from the studio to be like, okay, this is how we want it done. Because it wasn't a bad performance. Because like I tell
No, no.
everybody, you can't
No.
tell me that scene when I think he was in like the warehouse and he was fighting like all them dudes was not like badass. Like
That was
That
that
was
was the
cold.
sickest Batman fight scene
Yeah.
ever. Like ever.
but
It
you
yeah.
know, in actuality, like as far as like how each one of them has something different. Like for me, with Tim Burton, I think Michael Keaton's Batman is the best Batman as far as like the best portrayal of Bruce Wayne, and
Yeah.
because they said they wanted to make that movie about Bruce Wayne and not Batman, which is very smart because a lot of times when you focus more on the persona, that alias they have as a superhero, you lose the human who's inside of the costume and under the
Good point.
cowl or the armor or whatever. So the fact that they wanted to focus more on Bruce Wayne, it humanized it a little bit more, and you got to see who the person was under the mask and why he became Batman. So that's why that one's kind of always been my favorite. And then it would be Nolan because of the groundbreaking thing that he did as far as film with Batman. But Tim Burton is always gonna have my heart as a fan and a filmmaker and a comic book lover. So that's how I feel about the three.
Good point. Good point. And
Yeah.
uh I the biggest thing for me is I'll keep mine pretty quick. As far as Zack Snyder's concerned, I love the character design. Like as far as because you guys know
Mhm.
I'm a huge Frank Miller fan. Frank Miller's my boy. Like the Return of the Dark Knight,
Yeah.
like dude, like that hit like just that. I love that buff Batman look because my thing is realistically to be able to do what the comic book says Batman can do, you got to be a big ass dude,
You
bro.
do, bro. You
Like you
can't be
do.
You gotta be buff. You gotta be
Yeah.
chunky, bro.
You got to be chunky, bro. And I like that big, dark, brooding, kind of lo-fi. You know what I'm saying? Batman costume is just a suit. It doesn't have any stupid, crazy gadgets. You know what I'm saying? And he's just like he's not doing like karate or whatever. He's just beating ass, man. It's just like that's what I like about it. Is and as far as Nolan is concerned, I think for me, I'm more of a fan of his villains. Because of course we all love Heath Ledger, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
but like Demetrius, like I was telling you the other night, and Marcus, I kind of want to hear you and Joshua's points on this too. Uh, uh, Tom Hardy was robbed because I
Yeah.
mean he played the crap out of Bane. Like that whole monologue he had about the darkness and all
Man,
Yes.
that. Wasn't that fantastic? I
I
mean, it
Yes.
was so
fuck
good.
every time I hear about
Yeah.
I mean, dude, like he got robbed. I really think he should have actually got an award for that. But as far as Tim Burton goes, I like. his take on Batman because it's just I love that gothic kind of horror feel to it.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I feel like if we didn't get that, like Batman the animated series could have been completely different.
Yep. And because that's what they based it mostly off of. They got it.
Mm-hmm.
Without Burton, we have no childhood of a Batman
We
animated.
have no childhood, right?
And probably not
Exactly.
Nolan,
Crazy.
Snyder. We probably wouldn't have any of those Batmans if it wasn't for Burton. Because nobody would take a superhero serious as far as
I'd
film.
say, yeah, any superhero movie that we see now, we wouldn't have from that Batman series, because like you said, they weren't taking anybody seriously or anything like that. So like, it made people like go, oh, people do like these superhero movies. Maybe we should make more of these, and
Right, and
then we
not make
had
them too
some,
campy.
and then we had these, arguably bad, superhero movies that came out from that point on. But it was,
The Hulk.
oh yeah, the Hulk, the first one. No, yeah, yeah, the
Ang
first one. And then we talk
like the
about we
light
can't,
green.
huh?
I said you talking about the light green Hulk.
Yeah, we talk about
Yes,
the
bro.
we talk about the great value Hulk.
Yes, bro.
Talk about or we talk about Daredevil. The first Daredevil. That's not the good Netflix series, but
Right.
the Affleck
Right. The Affleck
Daredevil,
Daredevil.
where he reclaimed himself being that he became Batman, so he kind of like got out of that shadow because like everybody knew him as like that Daredevil, the one that just didn't sell right.
Right. But, so what so so what about you, Demetrius? Like as far as the three different like iterations of Batman, what would you say? Do you have like something that you like about all three of them, or do you have a favorite? Like what
Because
how do you feel about that?
which one was it? The Tim Burton's the one with Jack Nicholson as Joker eventually, right?
Yep.
Oh, then yeah, I liked his portrayal of the Joker. Like they made it, they kind of gave like a origin story, like how he became, the Joker was because Batman kind of like knocked him into the chemicals, right?
Yeah.
And then he got that like that cartoony like smile on his face, and I thought
Yeah.
that was so cool as like a kid. I was like, dude, that's super cool. Um, and then I liked Snyder because of the bat suit. Like I liked the bat suit; it was really cool. But I think that when they tried to make Batman a little campy in that movie, that's where it kind of lost because like they made him like the comic relief
Yeah.
out of nowhere. Like he
Yeah.
just make like comic relief jokes. I'm like, Batman, you're supposed to be brooding. Like, why are you making me laugh right now? Like, this is crazy.
Right. Like and they made them they tried to copy too much of that Marvel thing, you know. That and that's Joss Whedon's
Yeah.
fault, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can literally tell when Josh Whedon like gets the controls of a scene. Like you can tell the tone just
Yeah.
like swaps all completely. Goes from
Yeah.
like dark
He
brooding to
ruined
this
it.
like happy Thor, good lucky times and stuff, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool.
Right.
Where
They're just like, how did you get the money, Bruce? I bought the bank. Like, get the fuck out of here. So, how about you, Joshua? Like, what do you think as far as those three movies go? Like, what would be your favorite Batman out of the three and why, honestly?
Well, I would say I like the Christopher Nolan Batman because of the costume. Like I'm really
Mm,
into like all the like real intricate details in the costume and stuff and the real high tech look. But I mean, the Zack Snyder Batman is cool. Like I'm not really a big fan of the whole muscular Batman. I kind of like how I kind of like a more agile Batman because he does a lot of acrobatics and he does a lot of fighting and stuff. So I don't think Batman
okay.
should be real bulky.
Hey man, big dudes can do flips too.
You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Why are you
I
hating,
mean,
Josh? You a big
I'm
dude,
not,
Josh?
I'm not hating.
hey man, big guys get those hands
I'm
too, man.
just saying, it just seems more realistic if Batman is just a little slimmer.
So I can't be Batman, bro? That's what you saying?
No.
Dang, God, dog.
He
Okay.
said you can't grapple on them
All
ruby
right.
boots, bro. You can't brood at
I'll
all.
take it.
Nah.
Well, look, since y'all have totally hurt my feelings,
Oh,
we're gonna go
whatever.
ahead and switch because we've been talking about a lot of DC. I kind of want to do the same anatomy of a franchise, but for Marvel, And I know Joshua, you'll have a lot to say about that. So I want you to start off, man. How do you feel about uh, the Spider-Man movies, and what do you think is like your favorite iteration between the Sam Raimi movies, which is like the, the quintessential, Spider-Man, to the not so great Mark Webb movies, which a lot of people didn't really like, and then our current Spider-Man, which is Tom Holland in the Marvel movies. So, like, kind of which one is your favorite, and like, what do you like about it?
Well, I would say my favorite Spider-Man is the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man
Okay.
because
Okay.
because he's just this real tragic Spider-Man, and he just
Yeah.
has a lot of weight on his shoulders. But the Tom Holland Spider-Man feels a little bit more like carefree, and he's like, yeah, I'm just here, and I'm just a Boy Scout, and I just want to learn everything I need to learn to be as great as I can be. But the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, he's just a guy. He's just got a lot of stuff on his plate, and he just accidentally got these powers, and now he uses them to benefit his life because he has to.
He
But
cries a lot. I know that.
yeah, yeah.
He definitely cried the most out of the three, but I agree with you, man. How about you, Marcus?
I definitely agree with Joshua because as much as I love Marvel, the new Marvel movies and stuff, and like how they introduced Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire got a place in my heart as Spider-Man because like I felt that performance. Like I was like, man, I understand how he feels. He a nerd. Don't know if pay attention to him. He, the girl he like, he can't really talk to her because he don't got the confidence. Then he get the superpowers. It's still like the same stuff.
It's
So
basically the
you
same.
know, like,
Yeah.
I basically gotta still live my my crappy life. So it's like he gets fired from his jobs. He he doesn't have the money to help his Aunt May. He can't even afford his own place when he gets a place. Like he's in like the
Right.
top 9 college and he's broke. So it's like, okay, I can relate to that dude. So like Josh said, it's like with Tom Holland. I think with the next film, I think they should tone him down just a little bit and actually give him an actual real dilemma to face.
True.
Yeah.
I don't think he's really had a dilemma that's really knocked him off of his feet. Like, even though with the whole like Tony Stark thing and him being, decimated or whatever they call it, the snap. Like, I feel like when he came back from both of those, he wasn't like it wasn't no real like, oh man. He kind of just got right back into, doing what he was doing. Like Josh said, like I'm just here. Tell me what I need to do. Blah blah.
Right. Right. He wasn't depressed or anything. He didn't have
Yeah,
a
he was
phase
depressed
like
like
Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire had a whole phase.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
depressed like the first 30 minutes of Far From Home, and then it was like, okay, we're going on vacation.
Okay, time to go
Hey.
on vacation.
True that. True that. I mean, I definitely understand that. I think, and just to bounce off of what you just said, Marcus, I think as far as the Far From Home movie, I did like that they gave him a little bit of a dilemma with Mysterio. I kind of wish they dove into
Yeah.
that more.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
good. That was good. I do have to give him that. That
And
was
I think that they ended off the movie on a real big dilemma because, like, spoiler alert.
yeah.
What? Get out
Right,
of the room! Get
right.
out of the room
Spoiler
now!
alert.
They, set him up to where his identity was out there now. So, like, he's pretty much
Right.
like,
The whole
he's
world.
out there, and
He
he's about
out
to get
there.
attacked. He's about to get throw hands with everybody on the street. Like, someone go see him on the street, and then just start fighting. Like, oh, you Spider Man? All right, here we go.
Well, with
But
that being said, Dimitri, oh, were you about to say, Marcus?
go ahead, Demetrius.
All right.
Oh no, what's your favorite, Demetrius?
I'm gonna have to go with Maguire because, like, Spider-Man, the second Spider-Man movie is the best one. You can't even argue that point.
Hey,
Don't
It's
even come
both
crazy.
at
of
me.
Yeah.
Don't even
both
come
of
at
them.
me right now because, like, his dilemma and the fact that, like, he had to deal with a teacher he admired
That's true.
and who became an evil, he became an evil dude on the best intentions. Like, he came out there trying to solve a big problem. I think it was an energy problem or something like that, right?
Yeah.
and he just got twisted because of the machine that he built to help him with that. And so it kind of put Peter in this, predicament because like he wanted to stop him, but like at the same time, I think eventually, the guy Doc knew, so like it was
Yeah.
like going against his, protecting his identity and also doing what's right. And he played Tobey Maguire played
He
that Spider
played that.
that movie. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
Mhm.
he
I
did.
felt because at the end he didn't even get the girl. Like at the end
That's
he
true.
had to leave her. He had to leave
That's
her with
true.
identity. So like he didn't win in
Mhm.
that movie. He just lost. Like
Lost.
he's the
Yeah.
villain, but like at what cost? But like the one thing I like about the web movies is that they got like Spider-Man's like quips, like his little spider quips, like he says when he's like in those kind
Yeah.
of combatic things. They got those right. I thought
He's the
that was,
most cocky. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, he was like, oh no, and he just did the little web thing with his like web shooters when he was like getting about to get robbed.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that, but I think that they failed where with the same reason that the Raimi films failed, which is they overcrowded their
Yeah.
last movie with villains, and they didn't pace it
Thank
right
you. Yeah.
because they brought in who was in they had Electro, Green Goblin, and it was some and Rhino,
For
and
whatever reason.
it wasn't it was it
Right.
three?
Yeah.
Was it three? Yeah, it was it three.
Yeah, it was three
Yeah,
because
it was three.
they were trying to set up like the Sinister Six and all that for the
They
next.
were
Right.
trying to, yeah, and then they never did that. And I was just like, okay, so we're just teasing. But I think that they one thing that they were teasing, or the one thing that they were just like, we're gonna have to do this because we have the Green Goblin here. They took care. They did the death of Gwen Stacy in that movie, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I mean, you got this character, so I guess we're just gonna get rid of her because why not? But I think that they did
Yeah.
good in keeping it to the source material because that's kind of how it happened. Like she kind
Yeah.
of fell, and they kind of made it seem like it could be because she was well, the comic book did it differently, but they tried.
Yeah, they did. They tried. Got to give them some points, some brownie points.
And I think
Yeah.
that Holland he's okay. Like he's not 100% like the best Peter Parker, 100% the best Spider-Man. He's just like a combination of the two of them. Like I think he in this third one, hopefully they give him like that big dilemma. Like it's not just a 30-minute thing and he's just back to swinging
Right.
around. It's the whole movie and then like he just finds a way through it. That would be cool. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man as my favorite.
Okay.
Even though the third movie was bad and they gave us emo Spider-Man or emo Peter
Oh
Parker,
man,
they
that,
gave they gave us they gave us Black Suit Spider-Man, so I'm okay about it. Like
I actually liked the third movie. The third
We
movie was great.
it was good.
you always
I
say
mean, it
I
was
mean,
bad, but it was good.
it was bad, but it was bad, it was good, but like they gave us Black Suit
and
Spider-Man, so I was like, hey, we're here. We got it.
True that. True
I,
that. I
I
mean,
I agree with Demetrius on that. Like how
uh
they
huh.
crowded those films with like all the villains, and
Hmm.
it just got hard to like follow where they were going because it was like, okay, here goes Sandman, gonna bring Venom in, and now we're gonna make Harry. I guess he's supposed to be Hobgoblin, so it's like I
No, they called him the New Goblin in the
Right.
movie.
Yeah.
They called him New Goblin.
yeah, and then with with the web Spider Man, it was like, okay, we got Electro, who I love Jamie Foxx to death, great actor.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I felt like the delivery on that villain did not make me feel no kind of sympathy. Cause like you know how most villains are
Yeah.
supposed to be sympathetic. You be like, oh man, I feel bad for him. I was like, I don't feel bad for him at all. And I don't know what the
Right.
hell that goblin was. Like they tried to make it like some disease that was hereditary and this is what they had to do to save themselves. And I was just like, okay, I'm
Right.
right now.
I,
So
I
Right.
think
Because he has some AIDS shit going on. I'm just like,
I think it's like because they were trying
Uh,
to bring that realism they gave with
mhm.
the lizard. Like they gave that
yeah.
like genetic thing. So like, cause like in the games they
right.
kind of do the same thing where they have all the villains are like kind of like how do you play it? They're like mutated versions of like whatever the villain is. Like you have like
That's
Scorpion and
true.
Scorpion and all the other characters in there. So I think that's what they were trying to do, is to like make it a disease so that it kind of makes him go crazy, and that's how he becomes what he is. So they're trying to ground it in that reality, because
Right.
you really can't. You have to do either you have to like go really animated in CGI or something like that, or you'd have to do what they did in the Raimi films where they like made it a whole suit, like the Green Goblin with a suit that he
But that
wore.
suit was dope though.
It was dope, yes,
Yeah.
but
Well,
that's your options. You can't,
but
And I'm gonna just say this, guys. The best Spider-Man scene of all time, though, that last scene, that last fight with Peter Parker and Green Goblin at the end of Spider-Man 1,
oh
where
yeah,
he's just
Yeah.
like, Godspeed, Spider-Man. Like, and then my boy does a flip over the hoverboard, and he's
boy,
just like, oh,
Oh.
boom. I'm
I-
like, yo,
oh,
straight up blade penetration into your abdomen.
they
yes.
were pulling no
Yes, yes,
punches in
yes.
that scene, like literally. They were just like, we're gonna show the blood and everything. You're gonna know he's gone. Like,
Right. That too. Right. Right. Another thing I like about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies is that I love the battle damage his costumes have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They don't pull any punches on the gore element.
And
yeah,
Right.
I think that's another thing too about going back to like what we were talking about in the beginning, like the source material and staying true to like the comic books and real world. Like with Raimi Spider Man, the suit felt like it was something you could wear, like you could actually get in that suit. And then like Josh said, when he got in a fight, it ripped because this is supposed to be a suit that he made. Because in the comic book, Spider Man made his suits.
Right.
exactly.
In the comic book, when he got the crap beat out of him and he might got thrown into a wall, he come out with a little rip or the eye hole might be messed up. And that's what we got with that one. And with the newer Spider-Man, it's like it's a little tear or like a little scuff mark or something like that. Because I guess it's supposed to be more like tactical and stuff. But like you said, Josh, with Raimi, it's like, okay, he didn't got the crap beat out of him. Like his eyes gushing out blood, and you can see it because the suit then got ripped up. Like
Right.
I think it was in the first one when he threw like the bomb at him, and they showed like the slow mo of it blowing up
Yes.
away from his face, and like
Yes.
Right.
it was like the dopest thing as a kid, and I would like rewind it every time. So I think that's a good example of source material and keeping it like comic book related and real world. Like it worked. It worked out pretty good with Sam Raimi. I think, especially for like one of the earliest comic book iterations of a character, that really worked out really good, especially with the CGI because it came out like the early stages of CGI, and it still looks
Yeah.
pretty good to today.
It still holds up.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
still
it still
holds
holds
up.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely source material in Spider-Man movies that they should like stick with. The Spider-Man suit should always be flimsy.
Yeah,
It should
But
always be flimsy because Spider-Man, like in my opinion, the best thing, one of the best things about Spider-Man is his battle damage.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh, go ahead, Dimitri.
And I will say, a point to add is that I like that through the Spider-Man like movies in general, they switched up their villains a lot. So you had like Green Goblin the first movie, you had Doc Ock the second one, and then you had Sandman, Venom, and the New Goblin in the next one. And then you had the next year they tried Lizard, which has never been on the screens. And then you had in the last one or next one was it Rhino, and you have some other characters and stuff like that. But I thought I would never see in a cinematic like movie Mysterio. Like when they brought him to the screen,
that
Yeah.
was
I was like,
I was
yes,
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
bring
I
it.
was
I
sold.
was
I was sold.
oh, they
man.
sold me the
Oh,
trailer.
I didn't think they were gonna be able to pull out the vulture like they did. Like Michael Keaton killed
He
that
He
killed
killed
that
it
role. He killed that
every
role.
time.
There was that one scene in the car.
boy.
Yes.
Oh, woo.
Yes. And I mean, it was yeah, man. I'm that in itself, that because my only real critique about the newer Spider-Man movies is that psychologically, I guess you're not really that much emotionally invested, especially in the fight scenes, because like you and Marcus was saying, the old suits, even in the Mark Webb films, were tangible. Like my favorite thing about the Web Films is just like that's the second movie he made. That suit is the most comic book accurate Spider-Man suit.
Yes.
Or the eyes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But literally in the new movies, 80% of the time you see Spider-Man, it's all CGI.
Every
Like
last
Right.
Pretty much. The flicker of the eyes
Right.
and all that stuff is just CGI.
it's all CGI, and I feel like that takes
Mhm.
away from it some of the time. But as far as the acting goes, like I said, with Michael Keaton, he did a great job, and then Jake Gyllenhaal totally surprised me as
He
Mysterio.
killed that. He killed that though.
Yeah.
So, and since we're on the point of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, obviously, because like Marcus, like how long has it been going, man? Because I know you were watching like the span of the MCU. Like, how many movies are in the MCU,
I want to
roughly?
say, if I'm correct, it's like 22 at this point, but it's been over 10 years now.
Yeah.
Because the
That's
first
crazy.
one came out when I was in high school. Still, I think Iron Man came out in like 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
Yeah, so I was going into my senior year of high school. So it's been going on since then, and the fact that it stood through the test of time and it's still going on now. Like a lot of us, when we heard, like a lot of my friends, that I knew back then when we was in high school, when we heard they were doing an Iron Man movie, we was like, I guess, because
Right.
nobody really was like into Iron Man like that. So we was like, I guess
Mhm.
it's good, and we didn't really go to the movies to see it. It was just like, okay, we'll wait till it's on TV, or we'll buy the movie and just watch it. And that's what happened with me. I bought it, and I watched it, and I was like, wow, because it wasn't even like a wow factor, like because of the character. I was just amazed at how they were able to blend like practical and CGI and make like that whole suit work. And like
Right.
you can see the little flaps and parts and like how he built the suit. And then just like the actor they chose to play him was like one of the best decisions they made. And I think that's
Seriously.
why that film is so important to the whole MCU, because it kind of like, push start for like the whole like movement of this superhero genre that reemerged in like the, late 2000s, the 2010s, and now. So now we have these big blockbuster like superhero movies, when back then they weren't even really funded good to make that movie. And they said John Favreau and Robert Downey were, kind of going like on the fly with the last part of it because they wasn't even finished with the script. So that just shows you how far it's come from that movie to now. They got the funding, the studio, they buying back, all their characters, and they getting Disney is getting this and that back. So it just shows you the growth
Mhm.
of that whole like genre. And it's not all perfect because they've had their mishaps in some films that are not as strong as others. But for them to make 20 something movies and still be going strong, that shows you that whoever is in control, well, I know it's Kevin Feige, he really
Right.
takes
Right.
it like serious in source material, and I got to give him that. He really does try his hardest to stay to true to the source material, but at
Mhm.
the same time trying to make it seem like these characters can really live in this world that that we're in. So I have to take my hat off to like Marvel Studios for doing
Big
that.
time.
They have.
Big
Right.
time.
But I got another question for you guys. Like, why do you think that emotionally why the MCU movies are a success? Like,
Wow.
what kind of feelings do they portray to get you so involved in them?
Hmm.
Question, Jeff.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. I think it's just like I think for me personally, what got me like into the Marvel Cinematic Universe is just how attention to detail there were to the source material. Like when the Iron Man came out, I saw it in theaters, um, and I was just like, and it just like I knew some about Iron Man, but there's so much that they added to the character that I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. Da da da, so on and so forth. And after that, they started doing, other solo ones and started to really like tell a story, a really good story. So like, it's just I've been a fan or I followed them because they tell the story almost like the comic books, like for Iron Man and the other and Thor, which Thor was a character I didn't even have really interest in that much until he came out with what Thor 1, 2, and really Ragnarok was really what sold me. Like he sold me in his like
Right. Yeah.
Avenger movies, but
Nice.
Ragnarok was when I was just like,
What got me?
yeah, I was
Me
like Ragnarok. I
too.
was like, I'm okay,
Yeah.
I'm cool with you, Thor. But like in the and see him in Avengers the first one, like I was cool with him, but like actually seeing him in his solo movie and actually it being like really good, because like people say Thor's movies are like the weakest of the cinematic universe, like as an appearance of like appeal, because like the second one wasn't the greatest. Like it was
Yeah.
okay, but it wasn't the greatest.
Yeah. Like
Like,
yeah, like the biggest thing that attracted me to Thor Ragnarok was how Thor was in his lowest point. You know, like he was on this place he didn't know anything about, and he didn't have his hair, and he had to figure out how to fix everything in layman's terms.
Yeah. No, I mean that was that's something that really drew me in to that movie as well. Like I really I like the camaraderie between like it kind of gave Hulk more so of a personality too, which I
Right?
kind of
Yeah.
like. I really think, and I'll be honest, I think they kind of over seasoned it a little bit in Endgame. But I think they had the perfect amount of like the personable human esque Hulk in Ragnarok. I like that, but what really
yeah.
I don't know what really made me I guess emotionally invested into the Marvel movies because Marcus knows like when me and Marcus like first became friends, like I was not like I'm an anime guy, like I was not a superhero person at all.
I had
Like
to get in my head like,
Hmm.
come on, Chad.
Hey, I tried, man. I tried for years.
for years,
For
exactly.
Yeah.
years.
But what
I'm
these
still
guys
trying.
did, I mean, but what these guys did, they made like all these, really out there characters like Doctor Strange, like we said, we didn't really know too much about, and they personalized and made him human. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just this detail that the MCU puts into their characters, like, being able to see Michael Douglas at 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Being able to see a young
Hmm.
Samuel Jackson. Just the detail of them saying that. Carrying characters over from one movie to the other. Like they said that Peter Parker was actually in like what was it, Iron Man 3 as a little kid or something like that, or Iron Man
Iron
2.
Man 2, I
At the
think. Yeah, 2 at the. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like,
Hmm.
that's just my point in just saying that they just pay so much detail to it. And when you see it played out, especially like watching it from beginning to end, you can really see all the work that they put into it. It's
you
it's
really,
just it's just really cool, man. Like I really like it. So,
yeah, and that's like
Hmm.
you said, that's what I've been doing now. I've been watching them again, and it's like I've been watching them in like kind of the order it's supposed to go in, like as far as like the year the event happened. And it's crazy that you see how all of these films connect and how they did this, but even without it being in order, they still kept it to where you can watch it and be like, oh yeah, I see how that happened, and this goes into that part, and this like Thor: Dark World is actually a very important part to the.
Yeah.
And when you watch it in the order that it goes, it's like, okay, I see why they did that now because it's stone and because it is, and they were trying to explain that. And like you said, Chad, like for me, like the Guardians of the Galaxy, that was something I never heard of. And I've been
never.
reading comic books as long as I've known. I had never heard of them. And I was like, why are they
Hmm.
making this movie? Like, who are these people? And
Right.
when I saw it, I fell in love because I already loved like the whole galaxy thing, like because of Star.
That. Mm-hmm.
But I was like, man, this is like the
Yeah.
best. Like those are the two underrated films to me, like Volume 1 and 2, and
Yes.
those films don't get
Yes.
enough like praise
They
as they.
don't.
And I love James Gunn because as a director, they say he goes off of his music, and that's how he does his films, like from the
That's cool,
soundtrack
yeah.
instead of like writing it out, then putting the music. He said he goes music first, and then like going, okay, this is how I want this scene. And I think that's so brilliant because it works. Like the music really does drive those films, and I think that's what's beautiful about them. And for me, as far as like the emotionally, attachment to it is one. Of course, I love films because that's what I want to do.
Of course.
Two, I love superheroes. So to see all these guys on film, it's just like, wow, this is something I can do now because we have the technology, we have the sources. Then when they went and dropped my boy Black Panther in there, I
You
was like,
know?
okay, how they gonna do this? And
Right.
then when they like gave me Wakanda, and it was like it wasn't like no campy like, oh, this is how this. Like when they made it just seem like, hey man, these people was like, F the world, we gonna hide our stuff from y'all because y'all don't know how to
Yup.
appreciate nothing, and all y'all want to take over and do this. And then I was like, bruh, it's really a whole place of like black people thriving. Like it
It's
wasn't even
amazing.
like it was just like a moment
Yeah.
like a kid as a black kid growing up. We already don't see enough like superheroes that's our color,
Yep.
and then the ones we do get, they kind of like misogynized, or they have a hard life, or they come up in these situations where they have to fight the man and all that. And then with Black Panther, it's just like I'm a king, so I
He's
can
the
really
king.
do what I want, but I'm not gonna be like that, because I have to show by example, how to lead my people. So that's why when they came out with that, that's what really kind of put me back into it, because I was kind of getting tired of like all the films, and when they brought him back, I was like, okay, this is why I love what they're doing, because they know how to stick to the source material, and they know how to choose the right actors to play these characters. Because that's what, for me, with the MCU, you know how to get the actors, and that's very important. Because if you just put anybody in that role and they don't deliver, it's not gonna, be believable at all.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I feel the same exact way, especially with I loved Michael B. Jordan as the antagonist, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, we talked about a lot of great stuff today, man. This is definitely, I'll be honest, one of my favorite podcasts so far. But just to wrap it up, man, what film, animated or not, a superhero film, would you, give our viewers like as a recommendation to watch?
Okay. Animated Flashpoint. Get your flash.
You
Get your
stole
flash.
mine.
Yeah, you knew I was gonna
Yeah.
do it. You see who's
Yeah.
here? I was
Flashpoint.
gonna do it. And film. Ooh, I'm gonna go with either the Guardian of the Galaxies because they're underrated and I
Okay.
love them,
Okay.
or no, I'll just go with those. I was trying to think of something else, but no, I'm gonna stick with those.
Good choice. Good choice. Good choice.
How about you, Big Josh? What you got for us, man?
Uh, I would say Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That's really good.
Dang.
Okay.
Hey,
That's
Okay.
yeah.
all
Look at
right.
you. All
So,
right.
Yeah,
That's bro. I hate you because I didn't think of that. That's a great
that's
one,
a
and
good
I
one. That's
love
a
me some Scott Pilgrim.
woo.
Oh my god.
A
But
mess, man.
how about you, Marcus? What you got for us, man?
um, I got animated. I'm an old head, so this I don't know. A lot of people might not know it, but Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh yes, glad
Yes,
you
yes,
said it. Glad you
yes.
said it.
That's probably
Oh,
the best. That could possibly be the best Batman film, but
I think so.
I definitely recommend watching that. And as far as MCU films, I gotta go with Winter Soldier. That is my favorite
Of
MCU.
course.
hey,
Like it was
yeah.
just like that's a whole nother video, but definitely Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, and Winter Soldier, and the Keaton Batman, both of them, of course.
Hey,
Okay, okay. I like those choices, and
yeah,
for me, I like. I'm a I'm gonna just do a three for man, because like there's specific scenes in all three of these animated films that I just love, love, love. Like, and I'll talk about them real quick. So for Under the Red Hood, I love that movie because of how John DiMaggio played the Joker. He freaking killed it. Um, and then The Killing Joke. I love that movie because of the last scene. Like the last scene in that movie is just like it's really
Yeah.
chilling, man. Like how they pulled that off. And then, of course, because I'm a diehard Frank Miller fan, Dark Knight Returns. Because that fight scene between Batman and Superman, damn, it was crazy. So,
Bruh. I was
so
watching
yeah.
that not too long ago too, so I know exactly what you mean.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, but yeah, man. So all of these, everything has been amazing, guys. Once again, thank you so much, Marcus, for coming out, man. We appreciate you, bro.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. I appreciate the honor, man. Like I always say.
Oh, of
Oh
course,
yeah.
man. And whenever you want to come back, it's no problem. And once again, it is time for my shameless promotion. So, this has been the Square Roundtable. Please check us out on Power 214 every Friday from 1 to 2 Eastern Time and from 10 to 11 Pacific Time and from 12 to 1 Central Time for those folks in Texas. And yeah, please, guys, comment, subscribe, like our videos, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, just pretty much give us your feedback. Let us know on YouTube, guys, what are your favorite Marvel, DC movies, anything like that. We appreciate all the feedback, guys, and we appreciate the love. Once again, I am your host, Chad Singleton, and these are my wonderful co-hosts. Please introduce yourselves, guys.
See?
Josh.
All right. And we are the Square Round Table. Thank you guys for being with us and see y'all next week. Peace.
We out.